Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. Well, nearly 2,000 kilometers on the Vosges 900 DSX, and as promised I'm going to do my 2,000 kilometer review of the Vosges and give you my opinions, warts and all. I'm going to tell you the bad things about the bike, the bad things I think about the bike. They're nothing too alarming, but they're niggly little things, and I'm going to go through the good points about the bike. So I'm going to give you an informed owner's view of the bike, an impartial view, whether you should buy the bike or whether you should buy something totally different. So what I'll do to start with, I'll talk about basically the things, the negatives about the bike that I found along the way that are quite niggly. And to do that I might have to move the camera around. I've not got a lot of room here. I did go out and try and do this review on a ride out, but unfortunately the wind noise was so bad it was untrue, and I was trying to record on a phone with a DJI mic, and it wasn't doing any noise cancellation, so hence this video. Right guys, we'll get on to it. Number one, the main stand on the bike. Now I'm going to have to get the camera, I'm going to walk over and get the camera and bring it around, show you the problem with the main stand, which is a bit of a bugbear for most people. I'm not going to put it on the main stand because although the video looks straight, the camera is actually on a tripod sitting on the ground at the same angle as the ground, so it's the same angle as the bike, but we're on quite a severe slope outside our old farmhouse where I store the bike. So bear with me, I'll get the camera and I'll walk around. And we'll go around this side, which is a bit darker, so hopefully we can still see on the camera. And we'll go down to where the main stand peg is located. Now you can see this is the rear passenger foot peg, and this is the main top stand pedal. Now it's going to be a bit tricky this, but I'll try and do it with my opposite foot that I use, so I'll keep the camera facing down there. Now to get onto it, I can get my toe onto the edge of it, but as I go down it tends to slip off. So what you need to do, you can try and get it from the top, and again you can just get your big toe to it and you can't get a good purchase. So what you need to do, when you get it moving away from the, even now I can't do it, when you get it moving away, you need to try and slide your foot across so that you're on top of it, get it to the ground, wiggle to get a good grip on top. If you've got side bag or side boxes, you've got this extra grab rail here down the bottom, you can literally use that and the handlebar on the front to heave the bike on the top stand. But this process of getting your foot on there and getting the top stand down is ridiculous. It's I don't know, they should have put a bar coming out this way so you can get it from here somewhere, an extension bar or another design, but this rear passenger foot peg is totally in the way. So guys, that's number one on my list. Let's have a look around the bike. The second one is one of the stupidest things going on this, and it's not entirely Vosges' fault. And by that I'm going to talk about the top boxes. Now guys, I've spoken about these top boxes before, and I've given my opinion on them. They're really good quality, they're well made, they're strong. The rack's okay, but the basic implementation of the boxes, now they're attached to the bike, is absolutely bonkers. So I'll go through it quickly with you. The side boxes, to release the side boxes, to take them off if you're going away to an hotel or you're having a night away, undo this lock on the side as you do in any side box, pull them forward, and there's a clamp system on the front that will unclamp it. You'll have to excuse me guys, I've got a really terrible throat. You pull it forward, unclamp it. The box then slides backwards and up and off the bike. That's okay, it's fairly straightforward. The same on the other side. You have to undo this, undo the clamp, slide it backwards, up and off the bike. One big bugbear of mine, and I think it shouldn't be like this, is this bracket with the lock is held on to the bracket that the lock's clamped onto, and that is fixed to the frame with two Allen bolts. So two Allen bolts on there makes this lock redundant, so as soon as you open them two Allen bolts, the whole thing can slide backwards with the bracket and just lift the box off. So effectively this lock is doing no more than these two Allen bolts. These two Allen bolts with an Allen key you can take off in seconds to get the boxes off. Now the top box, if you're going away and you put a load of luggage in, you can see on the top of the top box we've got a top handle, so you would think that you can carry the box with that handle. Well, Not really, guys, because you can't get off the bike. First of all, you have to undo the lock, as I've said before. So you undo the lock, you pull it forward, unclamp it. That unclamps it from the actual top box mount that sits on top of the rear mount that's included with the bike. But once you undo this, that's not the end of the story, guys, because you can't get the box off, because the box is then bolted firstly to the plate that Lobu supplies by 4 bolts, 1, 2, 3, 4. They go from the existing frame up into the plate that Lobu supplies. The box then is secured to the plate that Lobu supply by 2 other little bolts, and I don't know if we can see them in there. They're a 10mm bolt. So the box is fixed by a 10mm bolt from the box through the plate Lobu supply. So once you unlock this back part, the only way you can get the box off is by undoing these 10mm bolts, which are really awkward to get at, or removing the 4 main bolts under the top box, which if you're going to do, if you've got a 10mm spanner and you undo these 4 bolts, the box will just lift off without undoing anything. So the box, if you're going away to an hotel for the night, you can't take the box off unless you've got tools, and it just defeats the whole object. So that's number 2 niggle on the list. So let's get around the bike. We'll have a look, walk around while we're doing this, and check out number 3 on the list. And the number 3 on the list is the gear change. Now, this is not a be-all and end-all, and it's pretty noticeable on all BMW bikes that you have a clunky gear change. On this particular model, if you come into this model from a bike that's fairly smooth and it's got a smooth gear change, no wet clutch bike is going to be smooth. All wet clutch bikes are going to have some clunk into first and a few gears. But this bike is noticeable all the way through the gears up and down, that there's a definite clunk and feel into gear. At times you can change gear, maybe 3rd to 4th, it'll be smooth, 4th to 5th, it'll be smooth. Up into 6th generally stays smooth. Other times you can change into 4th and it's a clunk. Change into 5th and you feel a clunk and a vibration on the foot peg. And it's noticeable out throughout the gear range, up and down at times. Other times it's silky smooth and you don't notice it. Other times you do notice it. Just depends on the revolutions of the engine compared to the wet clutch plates as they're spinning. But all bikes do it to some extent, and to be honest, after 2,000 kilometers, it's getting better, and I'm okay with it. But it was a bugbear when I originally got the bike. I wasn't too keen on the idea of this clunky gearbox on what supposedly is a BMW engine, but apparently the F800 GS is exactly the same. The next one is a strange one, guys, and on the dash itself, and I don't know if we can see it. I'll turn it on. It takes a second to come on, but on the dash itself, you've got a few things that are noticeable. So you've got a fuel indicator. So the fuel indicator now tells me that I'm not far off full. There's nowhere in the menu system to tell you how much remaining fuel you have per kilometre. So most bikes, modern bikes and cars, they'll say, you know, you can get a readout from the dash showing 3/4 of a tank and 248 kilometres left to go, etc., to give you a rough idea of the range you've got. And obviously with most bikes that doesn't include reserve. They're just telling you how much will go on the tank before you hit reserve. Nothing on this bike, so you've got to rely totally on the full to empty marker, which dramatically changes. It jumps down into increments, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're in the last bit. But what I find when it gets to sort of 2/3 down, I can go out for a ride, and within 10 minutes of riding, it'll start flashing on reserve and go red. So it's not an accurate fuel gauge. So that is a bugbear as well, not having some indication of the amount of fuel left, only relying on the fuel gauge itself. So the next one, and most people have come across this one, this is another niggle that niggles most people, is the gear indicator switch, which is this one here. So the tactile feel of this gear indicator switch is quite strange. You can obviously hear it now if I get close to the microphone. You can hear there's a definite click to it either way, and there's a click to turn it off. But the actual switch is very, very small. It's very sort of, it's not tactile at all. So often what you do, you find yourself looking at the dash to see if you've cancelled the indicator, or even for that matter, if the indicator's actually on. And the final niggle, so there's only about 6 niggles I've got, the rest is okay. There's a small niggle I've just noticed, there's no sight window for your oil. I've not got that down on my list, but that is another bugbear of mine. It's because you've got a dipstick instead of a sight window. I prefer sight window on a bike, but again, all subjective. So the last and final one especially according to my wife, the seat is not comfortable, and I'll concur with that. If you go on a short journey, it looks quite spongy there, but the actual cover to the seat is off the seat, so that's just air under there. So although it looks quite squishy, you're not actually hitting solid. You can hit solid on the back. But my wife tells me that the rear seat is not as comfortable as the V-Strom that's parked up in the underground porch there as the V-Strom. So when we go on a fairly long journey, she tells me this is not as comfortable, and the backrest is not as comfortable as a backrest on the shad box on the V-Strom over there. And I concur that if I do go over a 100-kilometre ride or an hour and a half, I start to get a bit of ache in the buttocks, so it does ache a bit. So to overcome that, the problem is, the thing you could probably do is get a gel seat. Put a gel seat on, you're not going to get the benefit of heating on the seat. So there are caveats to that. The only good thing is if you're long in the leg and you're quite tall, over 6 foot tall, you can see how much dip is in the seat there. You can put something on there without any problem. And Vosges are on about bringing seats out that'll be up here, so there'll be 925 height-wise. So guys, that's the niggles, the main niggles I've got with the bike. So let's get on to the good stuff. What do I really like about the bike? Well, the main thing is the ride and handling. This bike handles absolutely superbly. It rides with lots of confidence. The 21-inch front wheel, you wouldn't think it would corner as well as it does, but it corners really well. It gives good input, whether that's down to the steering damper on the front or not, I'm not sure, but the ride and the confidence it gives you, even two up with plenty of luggage, you hit a roundabout, you fly around the roundabout with any fear of dipping into that roundabout. It just gives you a lot of confidence to ride. So that's the main thing about the bike. The ride quality, the engine's super smooth, unlike the gearbox. It's a nice engine. It's just the gearbox that's a tiny bit agricultural. So the second one, and again it's subjective how you guys think, and I saw this bike at the EICMA show in Italy, not actually at the show but on YouTube, and I thought, wow, that's a stunning looking bike. Not because of the resemblance to the BMW GS series, just because of the design of the bike, and I just like the way it looked. Brands and names don't really bother me. I'm not too fussed that it's marked Vosges. Put a video on the other day and someone about these side little cases I put on, and Way Alley or whatever they're called. Someone said, oh, I don't like the name of them, but it's just subjective. When Kawasaki first came out in the UK, that was a bit of a mouthful, Kawasaki, but it's time changes and brands get known and they become more common, and that's going to be the case with Vosges. Been out 5 years here in Spain and building up a big following here, so I think within 5 years they're going to be up there with the leading bike brands from Europe and Japan. Right, so look, so the next thing I really like, it's one of my favourite features on the bike, is the cruise control. Now the cruise control on this bike is absolutely amazing, very easy to use, very simple to use. So you've got the cruise control button, which is located here. To put cruise on, you push it to the left till it clicks. You get a symbol that lights up on the screen to notify you've got cruise control active. Whatever speed you want to set it at, so say you get 210 kilometers an hour, pull it back one click and it sets automatically. As soon as you touch anything on the bike, the gears, the brakes, the clutch, anything on the bike, it'll knock the cruise off, but the cruise will stay in memory. So if you want to go back to cruise, so you come up behind the car, you're slowing down, you go to pull out past the car and you want to accelerate back up to 120, simple push forward and it'll resume where you were, so it'll accelerate back to 120. One of the features of the cruise as well on the dash with the gears, when you're in different gears, it will tell you to up change or down change for the cruise, so it'll tell you when the revs are too low or too high. So that's a really good feature, very simple to use, very quick to activate, and very easy all round. I really like it on a longer ride when you're getting a bit of wrist cramp. It's a really good feature. The next thing for me, I'm not overly short, I'm 5'10", which I think is about 178 centimetres. The seat height, 825 on this bike. It's 10mm lower than my V-Strom, which is parked over the back here, so we'll walk over there. And although the V-Strom looks a lot lower, it's actually 10mm higher, so I can flat foot the V-Strom, especially two up and with a pillion on the back. But the extra 10mm for me, I've got an inside leg of 31ish, around there. I'm not sure what that is in centimetres, but inside seam of 31. And with my wife on the back and luggage, I can flat foot it with both feet on the ground because you've got the sag in the suspension. When I'm riding solo, I can get one foot fully flat footed on the ground. The other one, I'm just slightly off my heel, so not too bad at all. So the seat for me is a plus on something this size and this weight. If you were to come to a junction and you can't flat foot it easily, and you start to turn at a junction and then you see some traffic coming and you have to anchor on, as soon as you turn that front wheel either left or right, the chances are the weight's going to shift, and unless you get your foot on the ground, chances are you're going to have a capsize and the bike's going to go over. And we've all done it at some point. We've looked either way to see if anyone's seen us, but we've all had incidents on heavy bike where either with a pillion or heavy weight in the panniers, the weight's got too much on a tight turn. When it would be, basically when you're nearly stopped. It never happens when you're moving. The bike's very light when you're moving, but it's there to look out for anyway. The tyres, the Pirelli Scorpion tyres, absolutely amazing, guys. Now they're not intermediate, they're not super grippy, they're not off trail or anything like that, but the confidence and grip they give, once you take confidence in the tyres, you come to a roundabout, even if you've got a pillion on the back and weight, as long as you're looking well ahead on a roundabout, you can dip on a roundabout no problem, and you can fly around that roundabout with full confidence. So without fear of these cutting loose and getting away from you, because they're very, very grippy rubber on them. Yeah, so going on from that, the brakes, a lot of conjecture on the brakes. Some people like them, some people don't. They are Brembo, dual disc at the front, single disc at the back. They are progressive on the front. By progressive I mean they don't anchor on as soon as you hit them. The back is okay. The front, you need to pull the brake a bit, and then once you've pulled it a bit, you start to feel a pinch, and then they're really, really strong braking. Now, for me, that's a great thing. If you're going to go off a trail or you're going to go anywhere that's a bit rocky, especially if you're turning traction control off and ABS through Enduro mode, it's a really good feature to have the brakes not so sharp on the front. If you're a mad sports bike rider and you're jumping on this, you'll find them a bit squishy. Right, suspension. The suspension for me is really, really good. It's fully adjustable for preload and rebound, and you've got an adjustable knobs on the top of the forks at the top there that are easily adjustable with a small screwdriver, so you can click them around to where you want them. And you've got a soft hard setting for rebound on the just under the seat at the back here, which works pretty well. The soft setting is no good because it bottoms out too easy, it bounces up too easy. Put it on medium or towards hard, and especially if you're going with a pillion, you'll be fine to go. Fuel economy. When I first got the bike, I was getting 4.1, 4.2 in the first 1,000 kilometres up to the first service. Now, since the first 1,000 kilometres, obviously, I've been riding a bit harder. I've been going up into the high rev range. I've been taking my wife out more. We've been carrying luggage with us, so we've got a bit more of a payload on the bike, and I'm using it more vigorously than it was before. And I'm averaging now about 4.8, 4.9 with the wife and weight, and riding it a bit more aggressively than I was before, which is still amazing for a 900cc. Under 5 litres for 100 kilometres is a very good fuel economy. Now, looking at the built-in features, these are all added bonuses that make the overall cost of the bike very, very attractive. So you've got, I've gone through this before and I'll go through it quickly again. So on the front, we've got an integrated camera. You can see it there, very easy to set up. Integrated camera that works all the time. It fills the SD card. Once it's filled, you can it'll start recording and re-recording over the old stuff. So you've always got a permanent record of where you've been at any time, any incidents you have. It's got a time scale on the app itself, and you can go see the exact time and the date, and it will show you where you were, what you were doing. You can take a photograph on the dash. There's a camera switch that's based down here at the back. You press that, it'll take an instant photo. As soon as you start the bike, it instantly starts working once it's set up. You don't turn it off, it's working all the time. So that's a great, great feature. The integrated fog lights on the front as well, really good. If you're turning right or left at night, they illuminate whichever way you're going. So say you're turning left, the left-hand fog lamp will illuminate. Another good feature, What can we say about the front end? I think that's pretty much it on the front end. Yeah, so working further back, adjustable suspension like I've said. On the handlebars themselves, we've got heated grips with 3 different settings. We've talked about the cruise control. The seat is heated only for the rider, not for the pillion, which annoys my wife, because we went out on it when I first got it in April when it was a bit cool and I was nice and toasty and she was a bit chilly. So yeah guys, lots of amazing features on the bike. The TFT screen is very easy to read. It gives good information. The built-in navigation on the bike is okay to a point, but your phone's running all the time. It's not as capable as Google or Apple Maps, so you're better, in my opinion, you're better off with them as a standalone, to be honest, or put an Apple CarPlay or Android Auto on your dash if you want to go that route. But I find with the USB, mentioning the USB, we've got a USB Type A, which is around the other side. I'll quickly go around. So we've got USB Type A and C there for charging, and all I do if I'm out and about and I've got my phone and I just run a short cable and put it in the USB-C. Yeah, other features, looking around the other side, you've got your heated seat and your heated handlebars, 3 settings like I said before, fully adjustable brake lever and clutch, so you can adjust them for reach and pull. Flasher for your main beam. One caveat that I'm not overly keen on is the original wind screen on the front. Even in the up position, you get a lot of buffeting on your helmet, and this has been well recorded by other reviewers and riders. Once you put an extension on the top, you then get no buffeting on your helmet, but you do get side buffeting around your neck and your chest, even on the high position. Hence these 2 deflectors that I've put on the bottom. Now, the 2 deflectors on the bottom, there's been a lot of feedback. It really, really works, guys. You get no air on your body whatsoever. It deflects everything off you. You get an air-free, buffeting-free ride. Now, this is not a permanent solution. I've only done this purposely because I've covered 2,000 kilometers and I like to ride in comfort, to be honest. So it's not a permanent fixture. Once Givi bring these supposed screens they're bringing out, I'm going to try one. But like I've said in previous videos, the handguards encroach on the cutout in the screen, and I think that's why we get the side buffeting around this part. So I would imagine Givi will have to go the same route and have a very narrow screen. So if it turns out that the Givi one's no good, I'll stay like this for a while and use these side deflectors. It works really, really well. So guys, I think that's pretty much it on my list all round. We've looked at all the extra features that are on the bike and all the bits and bobs that come with it. The camera recording's under the seat via an SD card. And yeah, guys, for the price, €8,888, as is at the moment before we get into the 2025 models. So as far as I know, all the shipments that are coming in have sold out. The big shipment came into Valencia, I saw on Facebook the other day, massive warehouse full of them. They've all been sold. The next lot coming in apparently are going to be September, and then nothing then. There's no pre-orders till 2025 apparently. 2025, the bikes coming in will definitely be Euro 5 Plus, so there'll be some remapping again to the ECU, which again could cause some problems with slow throttle response. At the moment, I've used a throttle trick that I saw on the internet. I've passed it on to you guys. It works to a certain degree. It's a lot better than it was before. It's not perfect, but hopefully at some point we're going to get a remap from Vosges, and it's going to be an over-the-air map, and that will change things dramatically. So guys, I don't know if there's anything else you want to ask me in the comments below. I would recommend the bike 100%. I really love it. Hence doing the 2,000 kilometers in 5 weeks and riding my other bikes as well. Super Meters under wraps there. The V-Strom, I've been out on it a few times, and I try not to go out on it because it's very, very smooth, and it shows me how clunky the gearbox is on this one. But after a while with this and comparing it to the V-Strom, it's like night and day. There's much more power in this, and this bike, the Vosges, is much easier to ride than the V-Strom. It's just set up for throwing around corners. It's a lot more agile, even though the V-Strom's got a 17-inch front wheel. This is 21. It just is an all-round better bike. So guys, I'm going to leave it with you there. Like I say, give me any questions you've got in the comment section below. Do subscribe.